Assalamu alaikum. Good morning. My name is Abdul Moeed Qureshi and I am here with third episode of Talks at FUI. In this episode, we are going to talk about telemedicine. We are going to talk about artificial intelligence in the pharmaceutical industry and its growth in next 5 years. Today, we have a wonderful guest with us who had studied financial economics from University of Western Ontario, and he came back to Pakistan in 2013 to spearhead the operations of Said.com.pk, a leading E-Pharma online firm. And he's also attached with Lahore Chamber of Commerce and Industry, and also attached with a leading digital portal, propakistani.com. Ladies and gentlemen, we have today Bilal Mumtaz with us, who is Director Marketing of Said.com.pk, and he is one of a key role player and the pioneer of entrepreneur industry of Pakistan. आज हम बिलाल मुमताज़ से बात करेंगे कि स्टूडेंट्स और फैकल्टी को कैसे गाइड किया जा सकता है कि टेलीमेडिसिन में किस तरह से रिसर्च एंड डेवलपमेंट की जाए, और इसका जो ग्रोथ का पोटेंशियल है इस इंडस्ट्री का, उसमें पाकिस्तान का रोल क्या होना चाहिए, और ई फार्मा में पाकिस्तान में क्या क्या चैलेंजेस हैं और क्या क्या स्टेप्स लिए जा सकते हैं ताकि हम प्रॉपरली एज अ कंट्री एंड एज अ नेशन इसका प्रॉपर फ़ायदा उठाया जा सके. आज हम बिलाल मुमताज़ साहब से बात करते हैं और उनसे पूछते हैं कि ई फार्मा इंडस्ट्री को वो कैसे डील कर रहे हैं, उनके लर्निंग एक्सपीरियंसेस कैसे हैं इस इंडस्ट्री के साथ, और वो पाकिस्तान द 5 सालों में इस इंडस्ट्री को कहाँ देखते हैं. वेलकम टू टॉक्स एट FUI इन द थर्ड एपिसोड.
थैंक यू.
प्लीज़ हमें बताइए, टेलीमेडिसिन और आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एंड ई फार्मा, हमारे 3 मौज़ूआत हैं आपसे बात करने के. सबसे पहले आप हमें सेहत.com.pk का सफ़र बताइए कि आपका कैसा सफ़र रहा पिछले 7-8 सालों का. आपकी एजुकेशन के बाद आप जब मुल्क में वापस आए तो आपने सेहत.com.pk में क्या ऐसे स्टेप्स लिए, क्या मुश्किलात आपको फेस करनी पड़ी, और अभी आप कैसे सफ़र आपका जा रहा है Said.com.pk का.
जी बिल्कुल. When I graduated from university in 2013, I was presented with multiple opportunities to continue in Canada and to take up work over there. थोड़ी देर के लिए मैंने एक स्टार्टअप के लिए काम किया था वहाँ, जिससे मुझे बहुत अच्छा एक्सपीरियंस मिला. फिर ये मुझे पता चला कि एक कंपनी जिसका मैं हिस्सा बना था उससे 2 साल पहले, वो फाइनलाइजेशन स्टेजेस में आ रहे थे. So we had been planning an online pharmacy project since 2011, but from 2011-2013 I was in university, and I belong to a family of 4 elder brothers, and all of them had their part to play in setting up that project from the ground up. So one brother was solely involved in the operations and the feasibility. One was involved in perfecting our delivery systems, namely temperature sensor delivery, and the other one assumed the role of CEO to spearhead the project. जब मैं वापस आया था तो आप समझ लें कि ऑलरेडी 2 साल की R&D हो चुका था. We had even developed a warehouse facility and procured medicines from the leading multinationals in the country, and I launched the project successfully in April 2014 after a mere 3 months of being back in Pakistan.
ये आप बात कर रहे हैं Said.com.pk को ऑफिशियली स्टार्ट होने से पहले की.
जी बिल्कुल. उसमें 270 घर और 90 फार्मेसी सर्वे हुए थे.
इस स्टडी में 270 घर और 90 के करीब फार्मेसीज
जी बिल्कुल
को स्टडी किया गया.
हाँ जी, डेफिनेटली. एंड इवन वी हायर्ड a ex-dean of the business school alums to help us compile a feasibility study on the project before making it live. And we've been around since 2014, and now coming into 2020, we have expanded into corporate institutional sales, B2B sales, which means that we can supply medicines directly to pharmacies. We even ran a home vaccination service for a brief period of time in conjunction with Pfizer, and even started a agency for medical grade air purifiers in 2018, and are now venturing into providing marketing services for pharmaceutical companies.
So वो pharmaceutical companies जो अपनी marketing एज अ थर्ड पार्टी एजेंसी से करवाना चाहते हैं तो आप वो भी सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड कर रहे हैं?
जी, हमारे लिए मुनासिब है, वैसे उनके लिए मुनासिब है हमसे ये मार्केटिंग सर्विसेज करवाना, बिकॉज वी ऑफर 3-in-1 सोल्यूशन।
क्या ये कहना गलत तो नहीं होगा कि say.com.pk जो है वो इंडस्ट्री एकेडेमिया कोलैबोरेटिव प्रोजेक्ट है आपका?
Definitely, and one of the topics you talk about AI, and one of the golden rules of AI as established in the 1950s when it was coming about was that there has to be a clear linkage with industry and academia for AI to proceed.
तो क्या आप प्लान करते हैं कि आने वाले सालों में आप किसी और ग्रुप ऑफ स्टूडेंट्स या ग्रुप ऑफ फैकल्टी के साथ किसी रिसर्च प्रोजेक्ट में इन्वॉल्व होंगे?
Definitely, already मेरे कुछ यूनिवर्सिटी स्टूडेंट्स के साथ राब्ते हुए हैं. I've traveled the entire country to see at least 7 different incubation and acceleration centers linked to universities. The ones that I have found most impressive have been NUSTs, naturally, because a lot of different electromedical products are coming out of the university, namely Trequant, which was a watch made for Parkinson patients. GIK has a good acceleration center as well. One notable product come out of there was Sahara, which was a remote controlled wheelchair. And I do like Superior University's approach of embedding entrepreneurship into any major that one wishes to do over there, be it in medicine, be it in social sciences. They have a huge focus on that, and they also took a huge initiative in launching their own show, Idea Crore Ka, and in launching their own accelerator, ID92. So I see a lot of collaborations and linkages between industry and academia, definitely not just in AI, but in even developing our product further.
As an online pharmaceutical company, or would it be fine to say a online pharmaceutical company?
I mean, we're technically in the retail space, but due to our linkages in the pharmaceutical company, you can dub us as part of the pharmaceutical.
What were the key challenges you faced to properly launch say.com.pk?
So in the very early stages of say.com.pk, we established a website, and we had a gap to fill in the market where we wanted to essentially reach more and more users. So when we launched initially, we could only reach desktop-based users. And then around 5 to 6 months after we launched, the 3G and 4G boom came into Pakistan. So from there on in, we saw a huge spike in traffic coming to the website. We saw a really, really big demographic literally open in front of us. Marketing the product also was quite difficult initially because we had to convince conventional medicine users to, use an online system to order and to pay extra delivery charges. But we're now in a position where we've molded our target demographic, we've created different buyer personas, and we're confident in spearheading this project even further and getting more customers.
Right. Moving towards second dimension of this discussion, जो कि दूसरा पहलू है इस डिस्कशन का, हमें टेलीमेडिसिन के बारे में बताइए कि टेलीमेडिसिन चूँकि कोविड के बाद इसको काफ़ी पाकिस्तान में बात की जा रही है, इसके बारे में इकदाम किए जा रहे हैं. टेलीमेडिसिन के बारे में आप क्या सजेस्ट करते हैं, इस इंडस्ट्री के बारे में क्या समझते हैं, और हमारे स्टूडेंट्स और फैकल्टी के हवाले से क्या आप सजेस्ट करते हैं कि व्हाट exact areas of research they should study in telemedicine?
So telemedicine in general is a very broad field. It technically combines consultancy and, to an extent, pharmacy and pathology, because the whole concept behind telemedicine is that you can talk to a consultant online, and then he can prescribe you medicines and even tell you what lab test to conduct. So the essential crux of the matter behind telemedicine is that around 70% of emergency room cases can be prevented with a telemedicine consultation.
Right.
Like, say, for example, your stomach's hurting. Naturally, for a lot of people, it's instinctual for them to go to a hospital and get treated right away, whereas if they just went on a consultation with a doctor, they could be prescribed medicines right away, or be provided with some remedy to get rid of that ailment. So telemedicine ke lihaz se, I'd say that it's very important to have a grasp, fundamental, hold on the medicinal field in general, whether that's, for people wanting to pursue their MBBS degrees, or people who want to go into pharmacology. And they should be studying systems that have been implemented in other parts of the world.
Right.
And, that is a discussion for a later time. In other parts of the world, insurance is also developed to that level, whereby you go see a doctor even physically, then everything from your medicinal treatment to your consultation fees or diagnostic tests come under your insurance. And so they should be learning different concepts within fintech. They should be learning different concepts within medicine, and they should be learning different concepts within technology as a whole. And then, with AI, of course, there's definitely certain technologies that can be integrated into telemedicine for better usage.
तो sehat.com.pk में आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस का अभी क्या रोल है, आपकी क्या प्लान्स हैं? क्योंकि ये एक ऐसी इमर्जिंग टेक्नोलॉजी है जिससे बहुत सारे बिजनेसेस अब स्केल कर रहे हैं, सब बेनिफिट ले रहे हैं. तो आपके क्या प्लान्स हैं कि आप अभी इसे नेक्स्ट 5 इयर्स में या इमीडिएट फ्यूचर में आप एआई से क्या क्या फ़ायदा लेना चाह रहे हैं और उसके लिए क्या क्या आप रिसोर्सेज डिप्लॉय करेंगे?
So, you talk about AI at the current moment, it's not being used at all. And I'd like to quote Jim Collins, who's written a few books that I hold in the highest regard on business. He quotes in a book called Good to Great about how one should have BHAGs that guide their businesses into prosperity. And a BHAG stands for a big, hairy, audacious goal. So our BHAG from the start was to be the biggest pharmacy in Pakistan, to even overtake the combination of all chain pharmacies in gross merchandise value or revenue. And slowly we find that with a lot more customers coming in, we can reach that goal within 5 to 10 years' time. That being said, when you talk about technology, we differ from a lot of e-commerce sites, because when we did our R&D for Sehat, there was no ready-made e-commerce software available. We had to develop our own ERP from scratch. ERP, if you don't know, stands for Enterprise Resource Planning. And then we had to develop our own web server as well. And even then, there's a lot of demand, you could say, to upgrade that ERP, as the case with all technology that you white label and create on your own. If you talk about how AI can be essentially integrated with Sehat, we look at different models around the world, and especially in regards to precision medicine, where you sort of prescribe more or less based on the lifestyle and environment of the customer as opposed to what immediate ailments he has. So we see a lot of different players coming in to the IoT field, which is Internet of Things, whereby customers will get diagnosed at different points. That data can be shared with us, and we can then create a collaborative plan with doctors, with different clinics, with different healthcare institutions around the country to provide medicine delivery and to provide adequate forecasting and supply management based on data of where a customer is most likely to contract a certain disease based on the country. So I know that because I took a class from Plan 9, there's a startup over there called Evolve Machine Learners. Which Evolve Machine Learners, so it's started by a Pakistani American, Sher Khan, and they have boot camps in Jakarta and Lahore, and the whole point of the startup is to create awareness for AI, and the phase 1 of that startup was to essentially teach classes on it. So I took one of those classes, and I was told by him that the founder, that he actually had been in talks with the government around 2 years ago to create an AI platform for detecting the probability of swine flu contraction in southern Punjab. Okay. So definitely, right, it's not something that we should do ourselves, if that makes any sense, but I do encourage a lot more players to come into the market. And based on my experience in at least the pharmacy field, I'm more than willing to collaborate with anyone who has certain ideas and to guide them as to what gaps there are in the market and how those can be fulfilled with collaboration and not competition, of course.
Sehat.com.pk के आज तक के सफ़र में टेक्नोलॉजी ने क्या रोल प्ले किया? आपने कौन से ऐसे प्रोसेसेस ऑटोमेट किए टेक्नोलॉजी की बेसिस पे, अपनी लर्निंग की बेसिस पे, कि जिसकी वजह से आपके ऑपरेशंस मज़ीद स्मूथ हुए, आपकी कस्टमर रिटेंशन बढ़ी और सक्सेस हुई आपको?
डेफिनेटली तो 3 मैं फ़र्क एग्जांपल्स दे सकता हूँ इसके लिए. We take a lot of pride in the fact that belonging to a family that's essentially been in the pharmacy field since 1948, we have a strong grasp of the industry, and we have a good linkage with the Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan and other pharmaceutical manufacturers. So when we developed our warehouse, we developed it on SOPs that were developed by the World Health Organization, the Ministry of Health in Pakistan, and HIPAA, which is a compliance regulatory body of practitioners in the United States. And, if you really look into, just how effective the role of technology has been, so the three precedents that I can tell you that were set right after we had launched have to do with the drug relabeling and packaging rules that were amended in 2016. Mm-hmm. That was even only done for the pharmaceutical sector, which applies to manufacturing, but it said that anything from a blister pack to a huge box has to be barcoded. Okay. And, essentially, we were in the process of already barcoding all of our stock from day one, because the way our ERP works is we barcode everything that comes in. Mm-hmm. It has the batch number, it has the expiry date, it has a unique barcode, a serial number on it, and with that data, right, we know what's being put in stock, and with every order, it's a unique barcode that gets scanned to a particular customer, so everything can be traceable to the product if there's a complaint. So, this sort of amendment happening legally after we launched, there was definitely a clear linkage, because a lot of manufacturers had been visiting our warehouse and giving us praise for the systems we had developed. Another instance was the fact that since we only deal with registered items, we found that there were a lot of players in the market who were bringing in multi-mitivants from abroad, because at that time, in the first few years after our launch, they were not regulated items. But then they became regulated items, because we still comply not just for the pharma industry, but with tax codes and with the FPR. And it's a very strict law in Pakistan that you can only sell a medicine that is registered. Mm-hmm. And then we were responsible for even going to DRAP and creating a separate legislation for online pharmacies. So right now, the way it works is you can fill a Form 9 or Form 10 from the Drug Regulatory of Pakistan on provincial level for registering as either a medical store or as a pharmacy. But we have made that push to create separate legislation for online pharmacies. And the third way, our technology has come into play is we spent around 1.5 years developing protocol for temperature-sensitive delivery. So now within 42 hours from Lahore to any sort of applicable region in the country, you can, purchase your order for vaccines or temperature-sensitive items like insulin, and they'll come to you in one piece. Right. So there was an amendment in the Drug Act in 1976 that was made in 2017 that said that failure to, alongside, certain misdemeanors, which include selling unregistered drugs or selling a drug above the MRP or maximum retail price, because pharma, the government sets the prices. They also made it illegal to fail to procure, store, or transport temperature-sensitive items.
It shows the hard work which your company has done. And अभी हम एक और dimension की तरफ चलते हैं कि हमें चूँकि as a university students जो कि 4-year degree पे काम कर रहे होते हैं, उनको last year में उनके 6th semester onward उनको एक project करना पड़ता है, which is final year project. Which is quite research oriented, and it may include a single or a group of students. So आप क्या suggest करते हैं कि आपकी experience की basis पे और say.com.pk से related इस industry से relevant क्या research की ज़रूरत है अभी जहाँ पे बच्चों को research करनी चाहिए, और किन areas में बच्चों को project करने चाहिए ताकि as output उस project का इस industry को भी फ़ायदा हो सके और government को भी फ़ायदा हो सके.
डेफिनेटली मैं सबसे पहले ये सजेस्ट करता हूँ स्टूडेंट्स को कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस के अंदर रिसर्च करने की ज़रूरत है. उसका ये है कि इवन अगर आप अपने प्रोडक्ट डेवलप नहीं करवाना चाहते, एटलीस्ट नॉलेज आपकी भरेगी और एक तहत से आप कंसल्टेंसी प्रोवाइड कर सकेंगे गवर्नमेंट को ऐसे प्रोजेक्ट इंप्लीमेंट करने में. दूसरी चीज़ ये है कि अगर सप्लाई चेन और लॉजिस्टिक्स में रिसर्च वो कर रहे हैं, क्योंकि मैं खुद ई-कॉमर्स की इंडस्ट्री से बिलोंग करता हूँ, मुझे लॉजिस्टिक्स के अंदर बहुत सारे गैप्स नज़र आती हैं कि अभी भी मतलब एक फ्रिज
ऐसा गैप कोई आप आइडेंटिफाई कर सकते हैं?
जी डेफिनेटली कि फॉर एग्जांपल एक फ्रिज अगर आपने मंगवाना है लाहौर या एक शहर के अंदर, उस पर सेम डे डिलीवरी मतलब करवाना बहुत मुश्किल काम है. اب ٹیکنیکلی وہ گاڑی آپ کو رینٹ پہ مل جاتی ہے لیکن اس پہ نہ ٹریکنگ لگی ہوئی ہے, نہ کوئی ٹیکنالوجی ہے اس کے پیچھے, نہ کوئی وہ فنٹیک کے ساتھ انیبلڈ ہے. ہاں, تو سیم ڈے آئی گیس ہیوی آئٹمس کے لیے وہ گیپ ہے ڈیفینیٹلی جس میں وہ آ کے دیکھ سکتے ہیں. اور آئی سے کہ تیسری چیز اس میں وہ ریسرچ کر سکتے ہیں وہ یہ ہے فائنینشیل ٹیکنالوجی کے اندر.
بہت شکریہ بلال, آپ لاہور سے اس ڈسکشن کے لیے تشریف لائے اور آپ نے اپنے قیمتی وقت میں سے اس کے لیے ٹائم نکالا. Big round of applause for you, and we would like to again talk to you on certain other things, and ہم آپ سے یہ بھی ریکویسٹ کریں گے کہ اگر ہمارے بچے یا ہمارے فیکلٹی مل کے کوئی ریسرچ پروجیکٹ کرنا چاہتے ہیں اور وہ sehed.com.pk کی کور بزنس یا آفرنگ سے ریلیٹڈ ہے تو آپ سے ہمیں کولیبوریشن چاہیے ہوگی. ہم آپ سے مینٹورنگ لیتے رہیں گے اپنے بچوں کے لیے. اگر ہمارے کوئی اسٹارٹ اپ کوئی ٹیلی میڈیسن یا ای فارما سے ریلیٹڈ کوئی پروجیکٹ میں انوالو ہوتا ہے, کوئی اسٹارٹ اپ کرتا ہے, تو ہمیں اس کے لیے بھی آپ سے مینٹورنگ کی ضرورت پڑے گی. تو آن اینڈ آف ہم آپ کو کال کرتے رہیں گے. سو اسٹے کنیکٹڈ ود FUI اینڈ تھینک یو ویری مچ فار کمنگ.